Welcome, everyone, to Season 5, Episode 28 of the Hall of Fame show with Kirk Buchner and Evan Nolan. Depending on how the video looks, it's either this guy or this guy. For me, it's this guy, but I have a feeling it'll come out as this guy. I don't know. I'm kind of
That,
messed
that
up
was a
that
very
way.
that was a very strange scarecrow from the Wizard of Oz impression. They went that way.
I actually had to explain to my wife that Wicked was a prequel to Wizard of Oz. And then I found out after 21 years as a couple that my wife had never seen Wizard of Oz.
Mm.
And I went, like,
Wow.
follow the yellow brick road. And she looks at me like, no, it's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road.
Well, hey, at least she's got good taste in music. That's my favorite Elton John song. So
I mean, like, you pick your wins wherever you can, but we're
Mhm.
here to talk Hall of Fame stuff. First off, thank you to Paul Lawrence because he recorded his little blurb as to what he thought, his reaction towards the Pro Football Hall of Fame, which is where we're going to lead off because the Pro Football Hall of Fame has just announced five candidates, well, five finalists rather,
Mhm.
and it's a weird thing. And for everyone who is sort of new to this, and I had to wrap my head around this a lot personally myself,
Yeah,
this
it's
is
a very
not,
strange system.
it's a very bad system. I'll be blunt here.
Fair.
Uh, when you first heard, or at least when I first heard, hey, there's going to be more candidates, this is great. Oh, wait a minute. They're going up against each other. Oh, wait, they
Mhm.
all have to have 80%. And so it's
Yeah.
going to be a minimum of three. It's not, I told Paul, they're going to be they'll be lucky to get one person who has 80%, which if they don't have 80%, it's the top person anyway.
Mhm.
I keep going back and forth in my head whether it's going to be one candidate or two. I feel pretty strong about which two I think it's going to be.
Wait, so well, let me make sure that because what you just said might be a little confusing.
Go ahead.
So it's there are five people here, three of whom are seniors, one is a contributor, one is a coach.
Right.
What you're saying, just to make sure everyone at home is clear, is that a minimum of three of them get elected or a maximum of three of them get elected?
A maximum of three. Did
That's
I
right.
say
Yeah, you
minimum?
said minimum before. So a
Okay. Well,
maximum of three, and they all need to get at least 80%.
yes. Apologies, and thank you to Evan for doing the Kirk to actual English dictionary
I
live time. I
just want to give
appreciate
you a
that.
chance to explain it because you didn't explain it well, but it just want to make
Well,
sure
no,
everybody
if I get
understands.
that part wrong, that's a pretty big thing. I should go back to drinking. It's been 40 days without an actually alcoholic beverage. So
Wow. Do you have two of every animal in your house?
I had to think about that for a second, but no, I do not. I do have two dogs. That's
No,
it.
there you go. That's what
We're
I was.
fixed, so I don't see how they're going to multiply.
Anyway, so we had originally nine coaches, nine contributors, and 60 seniors. The last that we heard. Uh,
Yeah, well, the seniors did go down to nine.
yeah, but they didn't tell us the nine originally.
They
We
did.
only. Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it somehow. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. So like we can go through I guess each one who got left off, and I
Mhm.
guess we're going to start off with the contributor, somebody who I'm excited is here, but I think has the least chance to advance, and that's Ralph Hay, without whom the NFL, pro football would exist in some capacity. But it was in his car dealership in Canton, Ohio, that he
Mhm.
rallied everyone together, all the owners, and put together a super league, which would become the NFL. Although his presence in organized football lasted only 5 years.
Yeah, which is why he should have just been one of the people in the 100th anniversary. Like he
Think
should have
so.
just been one of the people they had. No offense to Paul Tagliabue, but Steve Sable, George Young, fine. Put Ralph Hay as the other person in that situation.
Mhm.
Um, I I don't. I agree with you. I think that Hay has the biggest uphill battle, particularly since a lot of people who they had that whole thing on one of the guys who voted for him then came out and said nobody knows who this is. I just think like it's not Robert Kraft. Does that
Right.
make sense? We all just thought this was a Robert Kraft invitational. There's no reason it can be Robert Kraft and just move on. Um, but
I think a
yeah,
lot of
Ralph.
us thought it would be. I mean, like, well, I've been calling it. Well, I think you and I both have been calling it for Robert Kraft for a while now.
Yeah, I mean it should have been Robert Kraft like for a while. Like I thought that maybe he'd get it over. He'd be the choice over Buddy Parker last year because they're doing another thing, and then Buddy Parker didn't get in. I was like, oh, okay, whatever, we'll get in next year. But now again, it's not him. I agree with you. I think Hayes should be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame in like either the first class or the 100th anniversary class. And short of that, because when we talked about this a few weeks ago, I said I think Ralph Hay will get in class 125. Remember?
Yep.
I said 20 years from now he will be in, and yet here he is, 5 years after the 100th anniversary. I don't really think he has a shot, and I think it's an odd choice under the new system. They should have just picked a slam dunk person here to make sure they got in.
No, absolutely. And I think that's really what we're looking at with this current system. If it was last year, for example, Hay would have been up against himself. He would have just had to get the necessary votes.
Correct. And if Hay's the person there last year instead of Buddy Parker, he probably gets in.
Probably. I mean, like I was saying yesterday with Paul, and I want your take on this because I'm going to sort of spoil who I think is going to be the two, or at least in that area, the top two finishers, if we were even allowed to know that, which we probably won't. There's a definite recency bias in that two of these five are people that we know most of the voters grew up watching, or not necessarily grew up watching, or they watched as an adult. And if they didn't, if they're younger, it's all on tape. It's all on YouTube. It's easy to find.
Yeah.
Ralph Hay, again, 1922, over 100 years has passed since he has been relevant in football.
Yeah.
As an active participant. I mean, I guess had he known, like, oh, maybe the Hall of Fame would have came in the town that I grew up in. Maybe I'd stick around a little bit more. But I would have had to move the team, so maybe he wouldn't have got it.
Yeah. So it's good to see Hay here. This is his second time because he was a finalist in 2020. But I think I agree with you. He is a distant fifth on this list.
Yeah, so I guess we'll go to the coach, and this is somebody who I think will get in, not the person that you and I both were pushing for, but it's actually before we do that, we'll go through the people that he beat out, Ralph Hay.
Oh yeah, so actually, let's go back for a second for Ralph Hay.
Yeah, go ahead.
People who had a better chance of getting the Hall of Fame than Ralph Hay, just from the people we had last. Bud Adams, I think, has a better chance of getting in than Ralph Hay.
Yep.
Do you agree with that one? Bucko Kilroy.
No.
I don't think so. I think they're about even. Bob Kraft, 100% has a better chance of getting in than Hay. Art Modell, I think, has a better chance of getting in than Hay. But that's another kind of tougher one. Art Rooney Jr. certainly has a better chance of getting in than Hay. He's a Rooney. That's all you need after your name if you get there. Seymour Seawoff would have been an interesting one.
He would have been. Another person on that 100th anniversary ballot.
Yep, absolutely. He would have been an interesting one. I think he would have a better chance. Doug Williams, I'm not sure because it's just kind of a weird place for him to be. Do you know what I mean?
It's a weird place for him to be in any of these spots.
Agreed.
It's a senior.
Agreed. And then John Wooten, I don't think is a name that would have moved the needle at all. So he's at least worse than 3. I'd put Seawoff ahead of him as 4, as for a 4th. And then you can argue Hay, Modell, and Bucko Kilroy if you want. But they picked the 5th or 6th best candidate out of 9 at best.
Well, not this.
Well, not say best. That wrong way to say it. Likely candidate to take a spot.
Yeah,
because what would be disastrous here is if 3 don't get in.
I mean, who knows? I mean, like I would be stunned. I'd be happy, but I just don't see it.
Well, I'm just saying this with the way the system is set up. The disaster is that if 3 don't get in,
right?
Because there's such a backup anyway. We don't get 3 in here, then the backup just gets worse.
Well, we could get 4 not get in.
I understand that. My point though is if they don't get, if they only get 1 in, that's an even bigger disaster, right?
Right.
But because the backup's so good, I don't think we're in any real danger of only getting 1 in. I think we'll get 2, and maybe a 3rd.
I don't know.
But anyway, so those ones didn't make it. So let's go over the coaches who didn't make it.
Sure.
Bill Arnsparger, we always thought was a long shot.
Hmm.
Tom Coughlin was both of our choice, right?
Yep.
I think Coughlin's a better candidate than the person we have here, but I'm not
Yeah.
upset.
I'm not anti Mike Holmgren, but
Yeah. So Mike Holmgren, as you said, is a person here. Chuck Knox, good coach.
mhm.
Wasn't expecting him here. Dan Reeves, I would say, is behind Holmgren. George Seifert, Marty Schottenheimer, George Seifert, Mike Shanahan. Now Shanahan's another one we thought we might see here.
Right.
Um, Schottenheimer has 200 wins, which is the most of anybody here. But it's hard for me to see if he's him getting in for a long time.
Mhm.
Reeves is a very good coach, but I don't. He's definitely at least fourth in this list. So the one that we have here is Holmgren.
Well, I mean that's who I think is probably has the best shot, unless we're talking about Shannon's brother, who we're going to talk about later. But
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us in our little group, so we have our little X group. Maybe it'll be a blue sky group. I don't know. Whatever happens, happens.
We're still on Twitter. I refuse to call X. We're still on Twitter for now.
Whichever. Twitter X. Either way, we know what we're talking about when
Yep.
it comes to the certain app. But I think a lot of them think that Sharp is the more likely. It wouldn't surprise me if it's Holmgren over Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be an easier sell
Yeah,
to
I just don't
people.
think that I think Holmgren's the most likely. I just don't think that any voting body is going to nix all three seniors.
No, I don't think so either.
So it's going to depend which is the most likely of them. And I think, like you said, Sharp is the most likely. Um,
Mhm.
but I would just want to point out, I know that Jack isn't as big on Holmgren in our group, but I've always said, just to give you an idea, Holmgren's coaching record: 161 wins, 111 losses, 13-11 in the postseason, Super Bowl championship with the Packers, made another Super Bowl but lost to the Steelers, and what I will always say is the worst officiated Super Bowl in the history of mankind, and hope that nothing ever approaches it.
Mhm.
Um,
I'd agree.
uh, Let me just give you candidate B. So this 161 1 and 111, 592 winning percentage. Candidate B, 120 and 109, 524 winning percentage, 6 wins, 5 losses, one Super Bowl title, one Super Bowl loss. So lost a Super Bowl, won a Super Bowl as a coach. Already in. That's Dick Vermeil.
Mhm.
So in my opinion, his resume dwarfs Dick Vermeil easily.
I'd agree.
Um, so not that Vermeil should be the be all and end all of people we have getting in here, but I would have put him in over Vermeil normally. Um, and if Vermeil is in, it's just comparing Vermeil and Holmgren. It's very, very hard to just say, no, that guy's not worthy. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. I think Holmgren. And I'm going to agree with you because if we're going by Super Bowl wins, I totally agree that Seattle was shafted in
Mm-hmm.
that Super Bowl. That should have been their first Super Bowl win.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Pittsburgh, but you won it anyway. So what do you care about what I said?
Hey, Bill Cowher in the Hall of Fame.
No, Shrek did. But anyway, I don't have a problem with Holmgren being the choice here. I really don't. I would be very surprised if he isn't the one put forth. It's just a matter to me whether he gets in alone or whether he gets in with somebody is associated with. Well, not really, but
To a certain extent. Yeah, I'm just looking up other stuff, by the way. Cowher's 149, 90 and 1 for 623 winning percentage, one Super Bowl victory. I also looked up Tom Flores for the heck of it.
mhm.
Flores is 97 and 87 with two Super Bowl victories, but also a Waterstone breaking of the dam achievement in terms of coaching and his importance within the opportunity to have someone who not white actually coach on the sidelines. He as a trailblazer. he deserved a little bit more as well. So
Mhm.
I'm just saying, with the candidates they've put in recently, he's Holmgren's right there with any of them.
And I
So
think that's what they're going to see.
yeah,
Uh, Now, with the players, though, we're looking at three people, only one of whom, again, you can sort of like find a lot of tape on. One's got a very famous brother. Will that play a factor? I think it should.
yeah, he has a very famous brother, but he also led the league in receiving multiple times.
I know.
And led the league. He broke the receiving record and then broke it again the next year. And if not for neck injury in year 7, Sharp is would have was well. Everyone thought Sharp was well on the way to the Hall of Fame before he got injured.
To me, he's the wide receiver equivalent of Terrell Davis.
Yeah, I mean Terrell Davis, Tony Vaselli, Kenny Easley. There's
Mhm.
been a history of Patrick Willis. There's been a history, and Luke Kuechly, who's coming in this year as well. There's a history of burned bright, got injured, got out uh, recently that we didn't have before. And so I really think that it's going to be, if Sharp is here, it's going to be very hard to keep him out.
It'll be very hard. The only thing that will keep him out is longevity, as you've already alluded to.
But,
But
but honestly, I think having Holmgren here makes it easier because they're like, hey, we'll get the Packers in together. I feel like that there's like a bookending thing to this. And also, it would be someone not from the Eastern time zone or Dallas. Having two people that way would be amazing. Um, so, yeah, I think Sharp's an easy one. Now, the other two are harder. I'm going to start. Can I start Maxi Bond on this one?
absolutely,
So, Bond is a candidate we have talked about a
a lot.
bunch.
Hmm.
I do want to just read a list of people here to you. Roger Craig, Lavi Dilweg, Ox Emerson, Cecil Isbell, Vern Llewellyn, Tommy Nobis, and Al Wistert. Of all those people, Wistert is the only one still on the radar. Those are the finalists from the senior category who didn't get in back in 2020.
Hmm.
Bond has somehow passed these folks. He showed up for the first time back in 2022, and then has been there ever since. Um, I think that Bond is a very good candidate, but he just played a long time ago and unfortunately passed away just last year, right before they announced the nominees.
I think he could be the third. If there's going to be three, he's the guy I've got at number three.
Mm-hmm. Two
And
team, two-time first team All Pro,
mhm.
5-time second team All Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, member of the Eagles Hall of Fame, member of the 1960 championship Eagles team as a rookie. Played also for the Rams and the Redskins. A very, very good player. Um, I
Excellent
mean,
linebacker.
excellent linebacker. But again, his last game was in 1974. So I would imagine that anyone who would have seen him play is at least 55, if not 60 years old. So
And
how many?
again, finding the film on him, it's not easy. You're digging through newspaper. Was it newspapers.com? I'm trying to remember where you're looking for a lot of old archives of just people of from what sports writers had said in his peers. So that makes it really, really hard. And we're seeing the Pro Football Hall of Fame, especially, well, same
Mhm.
with the Baseball Hall of Fame, based on our previous conversation last week or 2 weeks ago. The recency bias is very much here. We're not going to, I don't know that we're ever going to see another player inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame who suited up before the creation of the AFL.
I mean, yeah.
And you could almost go even further. Is it possible that we're not going to see anyone inducted before the creation of the Super Bowl, which is only 7 years or 8 years, 8 years after? But that's possible. I hope
It is
not,
possible.
but I think there's a definite possibility. On paper, he's as good as anyone. There is a glut of great linebackers. You mentioned one, also Novus, who was
Mhm.
not able to sort of advance. Bond would be an excellent candidate. I could see him being number three, but I honestly think that if you take off field out of consideration, the best candidate is the one who has got the biggest hurdle to overcome.
Yeah, someone who I
Jim
never thought
Tyra.
I would see on a ballot ever again.
I'm sure you're not alone in that. Now, in one way, so we're talking about Jim Tyrer, who on the field has got more first team All Pros, more Pro Bowl slash AFL All Stars. He's got the championship ring with Kansas City. He's actually got a better resume than Bond, in my opinion, than Bond and Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that, for those not aware, and a lot of people may not be, he in 1980, September 1980, he killed his wife and then himself.
Correct.
And it's believed now, and if you watch this, you can like watch also a couple things that Paul Lawrence had to say, because he went into a lot of great detail about Jim Tyrer from a lot of what Emily had to say about the situation. They've basically forgiven him, and the
Yeah.
belief now, and I think a lot of us sort of put two and two together, is that he likely had CTE, which obviously we can't prove,
Mm-hmm.
but
Because they know about it in 1980.
didn't know about it. Didn't have a clue what that could possibly be.
But his kids are for it. His wife's family is for it. They've
Mm-hmm.
all sort of given. And there was Ron Borges, crotchety old Ron Borges, wrote a piece
Brilliant
all
piece.
about it, which it's going to depend. It's just going to be hard for I. It's going to be hard to see how people are going to get around that what happened because there are only two things going to happen. One, if say he gets elected, they have to explain why killing your wife and then yourself is acceptable to get in the Hall of Fame because things like O.J. Simpson and Lawrence Taylor and stuff that they had afterwards, they were already in the Hall at that point, right?
Mhm. And
Tyrer was not there.
well,
Mike Webster is going crazy and everything, right?
yeah, and
All that
if I could just also, and I don't quite know the time frame of this. Maybe you might. Tyrer was on the ballot in '81. I think his last
happened.
year playing was '74. I could be mistaken
I'll
on
double
that.
check the year.
Okay.
74 is correct. Yeah, I
Okay.
played Kansas City from 61 to 73. Actually, the Dallas Texans in the first 2 years.
Right. Okay. So
61 through 73 and then 74 in Washington.
that was his second year, I guess, of eligibility. He was never seen again.
Mm-hmm.
But '81, what I don't know is exactly when the finalists came out,
Mm-hmm.
because
That I
we'll
don't know.
certainly learn a lot more, because he killed himself and his wife in September of '80. It's hard for me to believe that they put him on the ballot a few months later.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the backlash was. I should have done my research to see whether there was much of one. Sadly, let's be blunt, 1981, there wouldn't have been as nearly as much as there would be today.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
But for whatever reason, I think we know the reason. That's bad English on my part. He was never seen again. And here he is. And on the field, he is one of the top candidates, modern or senior.
Correct. He's a 6-time first-time All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, a 9-time Pro Bowler. Hilariously, he had a streak of he would have had 10 Pro Bowls in a row. But one year where he was first-team All-Pro, they did not vote him to the Pro Bowl. But he would have 194 games in his career. He is the eighth greatest offensive tackle according to Pro Football Hall of Fame monitor. So, to give you an idea, the greatest tackles of all time: Anthony Munoz, Forrest Gregg, Jim Parker, Willie Roaf, Joe Thomas, Ron Yeri, Gary Zimmerman, Jim Tyrer, then Bob Brown, Jonathan Ogden, Ron Mix, Walter Jones, Art Shell, Rayfield Wright, Jason Peters, who isn't eligible yet, Orlando Pace, Tony Baselli. Other than Peters, who isn't eligible, every single person I just named is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
And relatively early, I believe.
Yes. Zimmerman took a little while. Thomas was first ballot. Rofe was first ballot. Munoz was first ballot. Ogden was first ballot. Some of these other guys I don't happen to know off the top of my head.
Yeah.
but like the average Hall of Fame tackle has a score of 95 according to their thing. He's at 105.3. So he's above everything they have. So he's again, other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play? That's where we are on this. I mean, he was on their Super Bowl champion team. He's three-time AFL champion. Remember the Kansas City Chiefs Hall of Fame on the AFL's all-time team. Honestly, the best available AFL candidate who's not in the Hall already.
Yeah. Uh, but here we are, and it's one of those things where you're going to go in that room and you're not supposed to like think about the off-field stuff, but you can't not. It's how do you not know this and not play in your mind?
I know.
And
It's a completely different situation, but my friends were like, "How did this guy get nominated? It wasn't just me." And I'm like, "It's a great day for Darren Sharper." So like what does this open the door to again, even with CTE? Because either you have to deal with that, or the other part is you let him get in, and then the NFL has to have an honest conversation with everybody about CTE that they still don't want to do.
which is why I think there's a lot of people who don't want to have that conversation.
Correct, which is why I think Maxi Bond has a 50% chance or a little bit
That's
better
why
than
I've got him
50%
number
chance.
three
Yeah.
in
Yeah, I
terms of
think
likelihood.
I think we'll get the two Packers, and then Bond is somewhere between 50 and 75%. I'm not going to be shocked if he's not there, but I'd give him over better than 50% chance because no one knows who Ralph Hay is, and people are not going to want to vote for Tyra just based off of stuff. Which also begs the question: why? Why Jim Tyra now? After we just didn't get in Art Powell last year, we need to
Because
clear some of these guys. Why somebody like that?
because the people on that blue ribbon committee have a different set of opinion on that, obviously, and they're not necessarily they clearly. I shouldn't say clearly. I don't know this for sure. I think some people on those committees, especially the one on contributors, they're going by what they think is best, not necessarily what they think is going to go through.
True.
I mean that's the only conclusion I can come up with. And
Because of people who didn't get through, uh, Ken Anderson,
yeah,
Albert Lewis, and Stanley Morgan were the next three guys, right?
yeah, there's a few others
And
here.
then those are the next three. Those are numbers 4 through 6. And then the last three who didn't get through were Lester Hayes, Bob Kuchenberg, who apparently is just so bad nobody will ever put him in. He's so evil to everybody somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And who was the other one I'm missing? Al Wister, who is one of the people left over from the only person left over from that list of people I gave from 2020, who's still in the semifinalist list. So it's just interesting. Again, Roger Craig wasn't here, who I think would be an easy person to put in. But this is what they ended up doing. So, like I said, I think we'll get two. I'd say there's slightly better than 50% chance we'll get three. I'd be shocked if we only get one. I'd say less than 20% chance of that.
Usually I'm the optimist here, but I'm not as optimistic as you. I honestly think that there's a better shot that there's only going to be one. I hope I'm wrong. I really
hope you're wrong too.
I'm wrong. But
hey, can we pause here a second? My dog needs to go outside. That's how well we're done with everything here. So hold on.
Okay.
He's gonna go barking like crazy otherwise.
So, like the only modern equivalent I can think of with Tyra is going back to WWE. And I think you know where I'm going with this. That's Chris Benoit.
Yeah.
Who in 2007 did the same thing, only in a far more vicious manner.
Yeah.
Because he killed his wife. No, killed his wife, then his son the day after, and then himself the day after that.
Mm-hmm.
The difference, I think, being here with himself and Jim Tyrer, Chris's wife, I don't know if you know this, was an on-screen character for many years in another promotion.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So a lot of us wrestling fans, we knew the person that separated from his wife as sort of an individual that way. So I guess there might be some kind of emotional separation for some people, but I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I don't know that I could do it.
Yeah, I don't. I think if there are three better choices, I think it's going to be easier for the three better choices. And I really do think this is good for Vaughn getting in because I honestly think that they got yelled at a lot last year for only putting two in,
Mhm.
two out of four possibilities, and they're gonna this year they're gonna make sure they get three. So I really think it makes a difference.
We'll see. That'll be the most interesting. That'll be more interesting to me than the regular vote for the moderns, personally.
Well, and we're going to find out the semifinalists for the moderns. They said on the 20th of December, which is a Saturday. So,
Okay. Well, we'll have to
so
make
we'll
sure we're
find out
ready for
about that
that.
before. Yeah.
Uh, so I thought, as opposed to doing the elevator show that I usually do with, well, the elevator portion, I still will do that periodically. But since I've been doing that monthly with Chris Meridian, I thought I'd just respond to some of the messages that we've gotten on some of the shorts that our webmasters put together.
Okay. Cool. I
So
know nothing about this guy, so this is new to me as well.
yeah, so let's see. Actually, I'm gonna have to put on my Charles Nelson Riley glasses for this, so
Very
feel free
nice.
to laugh. Thank
Good job. That's
you.
one of your better impressions that I have to say.
I know that's the only one you like. That's why I brought it back. Uh, so in this thing where it was cut is about Marshawn Lynch, where we both were upset at his snub. Willie Woodall, 8305, said they always pass on Marshawn. Pissed off I didn't think of that one myself. Uh, Ted also put together because I revamped the rock and roll list for not in Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
So from Kenneth Bynum, 7839, he's just simply said the jam. Kenneth, I
Mhm.
agree. They should be strongly considered for the Rock Hall. Unfortunately, a lot of people who vote sort of keep putting them down, so they've dropped from like 20 to 40, give or take a bit.
Mhm.
On something I did with Ken Crippen, thank you again for being on the show, where he helped us with the United States Athletics Hall of Fame. He ran down all the people who he in his order of football players.
Mhm.
Uh, this was from Daniel.
By the way, voting open until December 10th. We continue.
Yep. So we were just talking about it before we went on air, and there's a few people. It's definitely not the list that we would have had.
Yeah, we got our first preview because we didn't know anything about it. And our webmaster's like, hey, here's our top 20. So we
Yeah.
don't know the top 25. We don't know how close number 21 is to number 20, but that's not the list we would do. So,
No.
and that's kind of the beauty of this.
Absolutely. Well, this one's from Daniel the man underscore 17. Daniel is actually our friend in France. He's a gentleman. I was on his show recently. Apparently, that's going to go up next week, and he's the head of putting Richmond Webb into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So he just said, great interview, big support here from France. Kirk and Ken always give great information. So thank you for that, Daniel. It's much appreciated. Uh, he put together a quick clip, 60 seconds short on some 41 going into the Canadian Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Bardock 059 agrees they earned this achievement to become recognized legends. And the last one here, this is more of a shot at me because in the one I did with Chris, I went on a rant how I was pissed off at myself for letting nostalgia think that Mike Tyson had a shot here in that
Mm.
fight against Jake Paul. Did you watch that?
No, I
Okay.
knew what's going to happen in that fight.
Well, I apparently did, and then I told myself that it wasn't. Well, MKU64 says, watch the flight in slow motion. I thought I did. Uh, Punches were pulled. No one was going to get knocked out. I guess he believes that it was.
Rigged from the beginning.
I do not, but I don't. But I mean, at the same time,
I mean, Jake Paul's been calling other people from the UFC to fight him and take dives. So, yeah,
it hasn't been proven that any of them have.
true. But
I'd like to think that some of them had some pride, especially Anderson Silva, but maybe they
yeah,
didn't take
true.
as much as I thought. Also, Nate Diaz. I don't know that he would take a dive for anybody. I
That's
don't know.
also
I just want. Well, anyway, that was sort of more. Well, actually, was there another one here? Oh, well, there is. Uh, oh, this is okay for us here. God damn it. Tiny Blast Historius Deter 4963. Jesus Christ.
That's a
Uh,
heck of a name.
yeah, so this is on our Baseball Hall of Fame section. It should only be Ichiro and Billy Wagner, at least this time. So thank you for those who are commenting and enjoying our shorts.
Respectfully disagree. If you're going to have two people, Billy
I do
Wagner for
too,
sure.
but still thank
So,
you for. I'm
yes,
not Billy
appreciate it.
Wagner, that's for damn sure.
Yeah. So, anyway, all right. So I had a quick little game I wanted to play with you instead of my good, bad, and ugly. I do want to say I took my son to his first NHL game last night.
Yes, how was that? I was going to ask you.
Uh, well, so I thought that he was going to be a Bruins fan. He was the only Boston sports team, and he decided, like, I don't know, a week ago that he was going to be a Blackhawks fan.
Oh.
I told him, like, dude, the Blackhawks are terrible.
Mhm.
And we follow Marvel Racing, and he's a fan of the Limers, who never win anything. He's like, if I can root for the Limers,
Did we
I
talk about
can
that
root.
over COVID?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So he's like, if I can root for the Limers, I can root for anybody. I'm like, go for it, dude. He's a Bulls, Bengals, Blackhawks fan apparently. So there's a lot of sadness in his life coming forward. But we went to the game last night, and I do have to say, I've been to United Center for NBA games. I've never been for an NHL game before. Good sight lines. He had a really good time. Bruins predictably won the game. Um, that's the other thing. We need to stop getting him tickets to games that the Chicago teams have no chance of winning. He's only ever seen the Bulls play the Celtics or the Thunder, and now he's seen the Blackhawks play the Bruins. But there was absolutely no life in that arena. It was weird. There was a lot more life in that preseason game I went to in Nashville when
Hmm.
they played the Lightning in the 7-0 game. But like even from the beginning, that arena was pumping for like a preseason game. This was just flat and sad. Chicago sports kind of sad. They actually fired the coach. The Blackhawks coach just got fired today. Second coach in a week here in Chicago. Um, but like it was one of the least. I mean, the stadium was 70% full. Probably about
Ooh,
40% were
for an
Bruins
original
fans.
six game, I don't care
Yeah,
if they're both underperforming. That's
yeah.
not right.
It was just low energy. That there's the least energy I've ever had at like a professional sporting event. It was very strange.
Hey,
So
how old's your son?
10.
10. Okay. All right. So this is just for me. This is my PSA to Teddy. Can I do that?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So Teddy, your dad just told me that you all the teams that you follow. This is great. Now here's the real trick to sports fandom. These are your teams now and forever. If you become a bandwagon jumper, you will not take over this show. I have
He's
spoken.
he's 100%. Well, I don't know about the Blackhawks if they're going to stick, but he's 100% not giving up the Bulls or the Bengals. He is a
Okay.
like the one thing that we do have in common. He doesn't root against the Boston teams, and he hates both the Steelers and the Lakers, so that works out pretty well for me. Um, but yeah, so we'll see. He also is a fan of Liverpool, and they're in first place in the Premier League, so at least he's got that going for him. So because he's a big Mo Salah fan.
He's his own man. I mean, you got to respect that in some level.
Absolutely. So anyway, all right. So the one thing I want to bring up, we have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is coming back around here. So I went to the our friends at Future Rock Legends to look at the eligibles coming up in 2025, and with all respect to Anoni and the Johnsons and the Knife, who had apparently are some of their highest ranked people on the site for some reason. I was going to just ask you the 11 people I think are the best
Okay.
coming in no particular order, and say if you think they're getting in first time, first 5 years, eventually, or not at all.
Okay.
See, fair?
Sure.
And you have not looked at this list. Also,
I probably seen that list, but not your 11.
that's also true.
Yeah.
So let's start with Nelly.
No chance in hell.
No chance in hell. No.
No.
How about let's go with Sufjan Stevens.
I man, that's tricky.
I
I
mean,
think
does he eventually get the songwriter spot?
I think eventually it's he's got a beautiful catalog. I
He
strongly
does.
recommend the album Illinois for anyone who's just wondering who that is, because in
Mm-hmm.
terms of actual album sales or just overall play, he's not big, but
Well,
the
his song All Things Go gets played here on the radio all the time.
isn't he a Chicago guy?
Yeah. And All Things Go is about uh, Go in this case is Chicago.
Yeah.
So
I think
um,
I think eventually, but he's not going to be on a lot of people's radar, including the people who sort of decide to nominate.
okay. How about Interpol?
But somewhere in between eventually and never.
Fair enough.
They're in a
Uh,
they're in a purgatory.
Purgatory. Got it. How about Nelly Furtado?
Never,
Never.
never.
How about Ryan Adams?
He's in that same boat with Stevens. Maybe I've got Stevens as a better artist personally, but I think Adams is
Mhm.
a better shot.
Fair enough.
Mhm.
How about Keen?
Mm-mm,
Nope. Okay.
never.
Right. I think that's seven of them there that I've done so far, if I've done my uh, counting correctly. Um, the Abbott brothers.
Mm-mm,
Nope.
nope.
So that's eight. So the three big ones, I guess, here. Pink.
I think there's some dominoes that will have to fall. Pink, if Pink has got actually my favorite Pink album was her first, where when she was more of a soul R&B artist. But she's got more rock cred than so many of these pop divas.
Mhm.
Uh, Pink, she's not going to be a first five because of the other people sort of around her. Like, when's Beyonce up? That's got to
Uh,
be coming soon.
2027.
Okay.
That's a big 2027 is a huge year.
Yeah. So I'd be, I've got Pink eventually.
Okay.
Long career. She can rock out with the best, but is there a lot of substance to her? I think there is, but maybe a lot of
Mhm.
people may not.
I kind of feel like she's going to end up with a Pat Benatar to like cred
I
eventually.
I think that's very fair. I think if you would have said like first 10 years,
Yeah, first 10
I'd say year 6 to 10.
sounds fair. That seems fair. Lincoln Park.
That's tough. There's a lot of bands like them, and I wonder if they're going to fall in that whole weird Offspring, Smashing Pumpkin sort of area. They could be. I think they're in eventually, but then a lot of other bands have to sort of get into.
Understood.
I I'm amazed that they're still going the way they are.
Yeah, well, I mean, well, they're starting up again here now too. So
Yeah, I mean they're playing Climate Pledge here. I want to say September next year, but so I mean they're still an arena rock band, but I think some other bands have to get in first.
okay. And the most interesting one to me, a member of our fictitious Rock Hall of Fame, the
Mhm.
Gorillas.
Girl, okay, so I when I revamped the list, they're the highest one I've got for 2025.
I figured they might be. I haven't
Yeah,
actually looked at the new list, but
yeah. And I think you're sleeping on Anthony and the Johnsons
yeah, I know Name the Johnsons. I know.
because a couple of the ones you mentioned I didn't rank. I did rank them, and
Okay,
it's an interesting story. They were or she. Sorry,
she.
I'm trying to get this right because I'm
Yeah,
first, and I'm
I'm,
not trying to
I'm,
misgender, so
yeah,
please stay off me. But yeah, she was just playing the Paramount, which is right across from where I live. It's pretty decent sized theater. She's got the respect, the story. Critics love her.
yep.
But
Okay,
Gorillas, going back to that, I think it's another 6 to 10 in Pink.
understood. By the way,
I've got
other ones
ranked
up for
personally, or not personally, but ranked, and then this all shuffles once I put them in, and then people vote, and then
people vote.
everything
Yeah,
goes to crap. I've got I, in their order on the rock list: Gorillas, Linkin Park, then Pink.
understood. Just by the way, for other people,
I have Stevens actually ahead, but I had him already because I thought it was 2024. So like I already had him ranked at
got
one
it.
point. So because that seems to now be 26 years as opposed to 25. Everything's all messed up now.
Everything's all messed up because they're doing the voting used to be the previous year for the next year, and they changed it a couple years
Which
ago.
is fine, although I don't remember a press release on that.
There wasn't, and everybody was confused.
Yeah, so I had to spend a
So
lot of time fixing that. Thanks,
yes.
Buchner.
So just by the way, other bands that are eligible for those coming, who are wondering that I think are worthwhile speaking about: Three Doors Down, A Perfect Circle, the All American Rejects, Andrew WK. That would be an awesome induction, but he's never getting in.
Party
Um,
hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
Disturbed, Good Charlotte, Hunter Hayes, Joe Bonamassa, Josh Ritter, one of my favorites. I love Josh Ritter. Lifehouse, Michael Franti, without Spearhead here for some reason. Michelle Branch, New Pornographers, OK Go. If they had a music video Hall of Fame, I suppose OK Go would definitely get in for that. Pete Yorn, Fife Dog, Rascal Flats, Regina Spektor, Sean Paul, Something Corporate, Sum 41, Tattoo or TATU.
Oh, the fake lesbians. They are my favorite all-time fake lesbians from Russia.
There you go. It's a big group. Uncle Cracker and well, I guess we'll go with Elvis or Elvis with a Y. I thought they were fun. Anyway, so those are the people. I just figured I'd throw that out there just as a question for you.
Cool.
Just
Oh,
by the way,
I told you that. Go ahead.
2027 has Avril Lavigne. I know lower down. I'm just going alphabetically. So Audio Slave, Avril Lavigne, Beyonce, The Black Keys, Fall Out Boy, Justin Timberlake, Kanye West, Kelly Clarkson, LCD Sound System, Maroon 5, My Chemical Romance. Like those are some real big names all at once.
It's loaded. Absolutely.
So,
hey, question for you. So,
yeah.
if let's say a Diddy list does come out, do you think that this could impact some of the people?
Absolutely.
One of them, Beyonce, you just mentioned.
Yeah. Well, it's good. It's question is whether the hive's strong enough that it doesn't matter. But yeah, there are going to be a lot of people.
The hives aren't voting.
What?
The hive doesn't vote.
Not voting. That's true.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, like it's in terms of voting, the two people who fell the hardest based on votes, P. Diddy and J Lo. I'm sure that's not an accident.
Come on, hush, Soup, hush.
Soup agrees. But do you want to hear what you're going to be helping me create next year?
Oh, sure, please.
Since we already trademarked the United States Athletics Hall of Fame, I don't know that we're going to trademark this, but I think just two sports historians who just love the world and geography and whatnot, every week we could pretend every year starting from 1950 and induct one person into an international sports Hall of Fame.
There's Olympics Hall of Fame and other things. There's an international sports Hall of Fame.
I don't think so.
So we're just inducting one person.
Well, no, you and I would decide. It'd just be you and me.
Okay.
Basically, you would present one, I'd present one, and then maybe we bring a third person to decide in a special guest who this thing, and then whoever was was the most persuasive, even though it may not necessarily feel that would be inducted in 1950 January, and then you just go from there, and it could be from
January, February, March.
Yeah, but historically speaking, starting in 1950.
Fair. So what are the requirements for someone to be eligible?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to trademark this one. Just something for fun and a way to like learn about sports outside of our countries. I say countries plural for those not aware. If you're watching this for the first time, I might live in Seattle, but I'm a Canadian. So
I might live in Chicago, but I'm a Bostonian. So
from Boston. So yeah, that was the thing that I told you that I actually before we started I said, oh Evan, you're helping me with another project, you just don't know it yet, and now you do. What do you think?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, I'll be nominating Lionel Conacher. You get to look up who that is.
Okay. Yeah. And what are the requirements for someone to be eligible?
Same as ours 50
years old. Okay, fair.
So that sort of could make that sort of interesting. And be a lot of lot of Olympians for the first part for sure.
Absolutely.
Be a while
Cool.
before the first basketball player gets in. Hockey may not even see anything. I don't know.
Are they? Do they have to be not American or Canadian, or can they be
It
any
can
from?
be anything from anywhere.
Cool.
They can be from anywhere. They could compete in anything.
All right.
And then our interpretation of what international means could be different than each other. I mean, I think it might be hard if Jim Brown is the greatest football player of all time, which I believe. Where does he fit in on an international scope? Don't know. That'll be fun.
I have to learn a lot about cricket. I have the feeling. So, anyway.
Or just make up one, like in that Family Guy episode. Jiminy Cricket. But anyway, I guess we'll close off with we haven't done this for a couple weeks, so I guess we have a few people who left us.
We do. So I'm going to start with one of our favorite game show hosts, Chuck Woolery, passed away at the age
Two
of
and two.
83. Yeah. So Wheel of Fortune, Scrabble, I think mostly with Love Connection.
That's what I remember.
Also did Lingo more recently. But he passed away at the age of 83. Another big name in our lives, even if we didn't necessarily realize it. Hold on. Why can I not find it? Was Jim Abrahams, who is a screenwriter who created Airplane, Top
Oh, from
Secret,
ZAZ. Yeah.
Ruthless,
Okay.
Ruthless People, Kentucky Fried Movie, Naked Gun,
Mhm.
Hot Shots, Parts 2, Mafia, and Scary Movie 4, among others. He passed away at the age of 80. So responsible for a lot of the movies that made me laugh as a young child.
I've got to find Kentucky Fried Movie. I haven't seen that in decades, and I don't know where it is. Like,
Yeah.
like where I can find it.
Yeah. Also passing away, Academy Award winner in 1977 for Best Original Screenplay for Annie Hall, Marshall Brickman, passed away. Also, the head writer for Johnny Carson, who created Karnak the Magnificent,
Okay.
which are two very different things for people. Also wrote Manhattan. He wrote The Muppet Show, Sex and Violence, Manhattan Project, Manhattan Murder Mystery, Jersey Boys, Intersection, and a few others. He passed away at the age of 85.
I never saw Annie Hall. I tried to.
Yeah, I haven't seen it actually either. It's on our list. We figured we'd see it from that, but it hasn't happened yet. So, um, okay. Also passing away. Did you ever watch? Did you ever watch the what do you call it? The brothers or the my God, why can't I think of any? I'm not able to talk right now. Never mind. I can't think of the freaking show she was in. Ryan's Hope. Did you ever see Ryan's Hope?
I heard of it, but I never watched it.
Oh, okay.
The soap I ever watched was Young and the Restless.
Okay. So the matriarch in that show, Helen Gallagher, passed away at the age of 98. Okay. From the world of music, Diva Gray passed away. One of the people who would have been inducted was Chic, probably, if Chic had ever actually gotten in.
Which will never
Uh,
happen now.
which will never happen. She passed away at the age of 72. Also was backup singer for Luther Vandross at one point in her life. So, also passing away, Alice Brock, the owner of Alice's Restaurant from the song by Don McLean.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. It's actually Arlo Guthrie, excuse me. Alice's Restaurant. She passed away at the age of 83 as well. She was also an artist, among other things.
Okay.
Also passing away, Mike Panera, member of the group Blues Image, which had a number 4 hit with Ride, Captain Ride back in
I
1970.
remember that.
Yep. And then he joined Iron Butterfly and was the lead guitarist for Alice Cooper for a few years. He passed away at the age of 76. By the way, at the tree lighting ceremony we had this year, we always have some classic group. We had um, we had the Love and Spoonful, by the way, came for the tree lighting ceremony in our town.
Oh,
And
way better than in Seattle.
yeah,
Yeah, they had well, first of all, Levin Spoonful with John Sebastian. He's still alive.
he is, but the only one still touring is the bass player, whose name I can't remember right now. He's
Oh,
81, sounded great. It
okay.
was 19 degrees outside, and these guys were playing outdoors and performing. They were fantastic, all four of them. So,
Now, they had what do they have? Some group called the Jewel Tones. They,
yeah,
they were just. I mean, they only did like three songs. They were decent. Belted out the. If you're gonna do something, this song, you better be good. And she was because she did the Darlene Love Christmas, baby, please.
oh, nice,
Did that, but it was like fake snow coming through. The mayor got booed.
fantastic. Um,
They were
so,
just happy that this year, because apparently last year the Free Palestine people tried to tear down the tree or something. I don't know.
hmm.
That didn't happen this year.
Well, I guess you got that going for them.
Yeah.
So other music folks passed away. Steve Alamo, who has the most hits they ever hit the top 100 without hitting the top 40. He had 13 top 100 hits and never hit the top 40.
Wow.
Um,
That's the Crash
but
Davis of music.
yeah, pretty much. So he had highest he ever got was in 1962, Every Day I Have to Cry, off his album called Mashed Potatoes. That hit number 46 on the Hot 100 chart, 45 on Cashbox. But he passed away at the age of, what did that make him? He's born in 39, so 40. So he's 84 when he passed. Probably best known actually for hosting and co-producing Dick Clark's Where the Action Is in the late 1960s. So there you go. Also passing away, Leah Kunkel, better known as the younger sister of Cass Elliot,
Mm.
who also was a singer in her own right, did work with Arlo Guthrie, James Taylor, Carly Simon, Art Garfunkel, performed on Art Garfunkel's Watermark album, and also had her own group um, called the Coyote Sisters. She passed away at the age of 76. Also passing away, Saphir, American rapper, part of the Golden State Project with Ras Kass and Exhibit. Lived with Tupac, was a dancer for Digital Underground. Um,
Hmm.
uh, was one of the passengers flying a TWA flight 843 that had an aborted takeoff, and he ended up with back injury from it. But he passed away at the age of 54. So actual name was Reggie Gibson. Lead singer of Bloodstone. Do you remember Bloodstone?
Doesn't ring a bell.
So, excuse me, Harry Williams passed away at the age of 80. Excuse me, I'm going to sneeze here. Thank you. So he, they had hits with, their biggest hit on Natural High was number 10 in the pop charts in 73, number 4 in the R&B charts. They hit number 2 on the R&B charts, Outside Woman, a whole bunch of other songs from 73 to 84, mostly on the R&B charts. As I said, lead singer, he passed away at the age of 80. And then I think the biggest name we lost in music this week. Oh, actually, sorry, one more I get before I get to him. Jazz drummer Art Frank, who used to travel, the traveling partner of Chet Baker, the great trumpet player. He passed away at the age of 91. Also worked with Charlie Parker and a few others back in the day. So, but the biggest name I think we lost this week, I sort of mentioned the band earlier. Bob Breyer, the original drummer for My Chemical Romance, passed away at only the age of 44.
Did it say
He's been
what?
he was found in his it's found deceased in his Tennessee home. The cause of his death has not yet been disclosed. That was a little bit over a month ago. But yeah, he was with them through 2014. And yeah, he decided to quit music and become a real estate agent at one point before trying to get back into music. Yeah, but he passed away at, like I said, at the age of only 44. By the way, I missed a couple other people earlier. Scott Schwartz passed away. Did you ever see the Ocean's 11 movie, the new one,
Original or the remake?
the remake?
I saw the original, not the remake.
All right, so there's a scene in the remake where Danny Ocean's being beaten up by Bruiser, and Bruiser just throws himself around a metal room and pretends to punch himself.
Mhm.
But Bruiser, played by Scott Schwartz, passed away at the age of 65 after a long illness. I've seen that movie so many times. But yeah. And then another one of few remaining great actors from old Hollywood, Earl Holliman, passed away at the age of 96. You'd probably know him best from he won a Golden Globe Award for The Rainmaker. And then, did you ever watch Policewoman?
I know the show, but I never watched that.
Yeah, so he was the sergeant in that thing. He was born in 1928, so he was 96 years old. He was a couple years older than my dad, or a couple months older than my dad.
Hmm.
All right. Other than that, going into wrestling, Mighty Inoue passed away at the age of 75. Do you know anything about him?
No, not much. I know that he was. I believe he was a light heavyweight in Japan for a long time. Won some titles there. I think with All Japan, but I could be mistaken.
Yeah, that appears to be what I have. So,
Yeah.
but I always give the wrestling guys in case there's somebody out there who I just don't know who it is. But he passed away at the age of 75. Also, one of my favorite voice actors of all time, Morgan Lofting, who you best probably know as the Baroness from G.I. Joe
Oh,
back in the day.
mhm.
She passed away at the age of 84. She was also Aunt May in the Spider-Man, the early 80s Spider-Man, and a whole bunch of other things. The Transformers, Knots Landing. She was Vera and Lexa and Gem. So like all those 80s cartoons, you heard her voice.
Who was she?
Um,
Jen. She must have had a lot more roles there because most of those were female.
yeah, Vera and Lexa, who I think were two of the misfits. So all right, from the world of racing, Mary McGee, AMA Motorcycle Hall of Famer, passed away at the age of 87. An American motorsport pioneer, first woman to
Mhm.
compete in motorcycle road racing and motocross events in the United States. She started out in a sports car and competed in motorcycle and motocross of 60, excuse me, 60 through 76. Um,
Yeah, ESPN did like a great article on her.
yeah. So, yeah, she passed away at the age of 87. Sorry, all of a sudden my throat is closing up here. Excuse me. Okay. Um, from baseball, Rico Cardi, Braves Hall
Yeah.
of Famer, hit 299 over 16 seasons with the Braves, Rangers, Cubs, Athletics, Indians, Blue Jays, Athletics again, and Blue Jays again. This is the All Star 1970. He was the NL batting champion actually in 1970 as well. He passed away at the age of 85.
Yeah,
One of the first real great Dominican players in the league.
yeah, one of those like yeah, I think maybe bigger name or more important because where he's from. Like you said, I mean nowadays, I mean the Dominican Republic is so good that
Right.
they're like whenever they have the World Baseball Classic, you know,
Yeah.
they're always a threat to win the whole thing. Wasn't the case in the 70s.
No, it was not.
Yeah, I mean
So, and
they're not a Hall of
he
Famer, but
started in '63. So,
yeah.
but yeah, one of the first guys out of San Pedro de Macorís, which is baseball hotbed.
Oh my God, yeah, like that place, especially if you're a shortstop.
Yeah. Well, he started out as a catcher and wasn't very good at it, so they moved him to the outfield so they get his bat in the lineup. But he passed away at the age of 85.
Mhm.
Also passing away, Bob Kelly, who played with three seasons of the Cubs from 51 to 53, then played with Cincinnati Red Legs and Cleveland Indians in 58. The reason I bring him up is that he is the last major leaguer to be managed by either Roger Hornsby or Frankie Frisch. So he's still alive. He passed away at the age of 97. Also passing away, 1971 All-Star and AL home run leader in 1971, Bill Melton. Played with the White Sox from 68 to 75, Angels in 76, and Indians in 77. He passed away at the age of 79. Um, from the world of football, actually, let's start hockey first. One of the longtime hockey referees, Mike Hassan France, passed away at only the age of 58. He refereed from 2000 2009, then had an aneurysm and
Mm.
disappeared, had to take a couple years off, and then ref again from 11 to 14 before he was forced to retire due to health issues. But he passed away at the age of 58. All right, from football, Bill Battle, who was on the 1961 national championship Alabama team and eventually become Alabama's athletic director, also coached at the University of Tennessee, going 4-1 in bowls. He passed away at the age of 82. Joe Zuger, a 1967's Grey Cup most valuable player and three-time Grey Cup champion in 63, 65, and 67 with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He passed away at the age of 84. He was a punter and quarterback. Tommy Hart, who played with the 49ers, Bears, and Saints from 68 to 80. Was all-pro and a Pro Bowler in 76 and a three-time Super Bowl champion as a member of the as a coach when he was with the Dallas Cowboys, I believe. So, the Niners. Is when he was with the Niners. He coached with both the Niners and the Cowboys. So it's when he was with the Niners as a coach and then as an executive. He passed away at the age of 80. Also passing away, Dale Hamer, longtime football official in the NFL, headlinesman in Super Bowl 17 and 22. He passed away at the age of 87. And then the name we've talked about in our little football thing quite a bit, Ernie McMillan, passed away at the age of 86, played for the Cardinals from 61 to 74, and the Packers in 75, two-time second-team All-Pro, four-time Pro Bowler, offensive tackle for the Cardinals and Packers. He passed away at the age of 86, played 190 games in the NFL, which is a significant number of games for an offensive lineman.
Absolutely.
Okay. Also passed away, Susan Pitt, a U.S. Olympian in swimming. She, as a 16-year-old, she represented the U.S. in the 1964 Summer Olympics in Tokyo and swam for the in the preliminary heats of the 4x100, but did not get a medal because she didn't swim in the final. But she passed away at the age of 76. She held several U.S. records during her swimming career. Then name you probably know, maybe someone for this Hall of Fame you've talked about eventually, Neil Frazier. One of the great doubles players of all time. Also won Wimbledon in 1960, U.S. Open in 59 and 60, and then won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 Grand Slam doubles titles, and 3 Australians, 3 French, 3 U.S. Open, 2 Wimbledon, plus 1 Australian, 1 Wimbledon, and 3 U.S. Open mixed doubles titles, and 4 Davis Cups. He passed away at the age of 91. You remember Neil Frazier?
Not that well. Most of the tennis I always watched were singles. I couldn't get into doubles. I still can't.
I get it.
Yeah.
So he was Australian. So.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last sport we have basketball. A longtime player, 5-time All-Star Don Ohl, passed away at the age of 88. Mm-hmm. Played with the Peoria Cats originally before winning the Detroit Pistons, Baltimore Bullets, and then St. Louis/Atlanta Hawks. He was an All-Star from 63 through 67. Averaged 15.9 points in his career. Went by the nickname of Waxy because he had a trademark crew cut. But he passed away at the age of 88.
Yeah, he's one of the players that you can find on Not Hall of Fame on the basketball list. A lot of these old school ball players in basketball just seem to have fallen through.
Yeah,
and I'd love to know who's any of these independent committees or individual committees, like old time, international. Who's on them? How many? We don't know any of it, but Anyway, he's got a
Yeah,
Hall of Fame resume, or at least close to one.
he does have close to one, but particularly with the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Mhm.
In the 1965 playoffs, he in the Western Division Finals, the Lakers and Bullets, who he was playing for at the time, played in the Western Division Finals, as you would expect, Washington or Baltimore
Oh,
and
absolutely.
yeah, and the LA to be playing. But he averaged 28.8 points in that series.
Yeah,
He and
I
Jerry
grew up
West.
with I grew up with Arizona in the NFC East, so it
Yeah,
makes
I know.
sense.
Same thing here. I explained that to my son the other day. He's like, that doesn't make any sense. I said, that's why they changed it. He's like, so why is Dallas still there? I'm like, and then
Because the
lastly,
Giants still want that money.
that's exactly right.
The
And then
Dallas.
lastly, I would say the biggest name we lost this week, Basketball Hall of Famer and College Basketball Hall of Famer Lou Carnesecca, passed away at the age of 99. Coach at St. Anne's Academy High School, then St. John's, then New York Nets, and then back at St. John's. Um, so just kind of a St. John's legend.
Mhm.
So, you have anything to say about Lou Carnesecca?
No, no, just I wasn't that familiar with him until I sort of like read the bio on ESPN too. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I
St.
mean,
John's basketball certainly an institution in New York. So
yeah,
he's a big
I mean
part of that.
he was the heyday of the Big East. John Thompson, Lou Carnesecca. Who else am I missing? Um, from the 1980s, they were just those battles were what I grew up with in college basketball. And just yeah, I mean, almost all those guys are gone now. It's amazing he was still around in '99.
Mhm.
So born January 5th, so same day as me, just not quite the same year. So that's all I got.
Okay, cool. So with that, next week, Evan and I will be presenting the winners or those who have advanced
Inductees.
inductees, thank you, to the United States Athletics Hall of Fame class of 2024. It's just going to be Evan and I this time. We're just
Yep.
going to sort of, we've learned so much of what to do, what not to do.
Mhm.
And we can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt that we're probably the most transparent Hall of Fame that you will ever find.
That is true.
And
Yeah,
we're proud of that.
we'll literally give you there are 129 nominees. We'll literally give you who finished 129th.
We will. We will. So
Work
look
away.
for that. That's pretty much going to be a big thing. I don't know if that's going to be a separate show, depending on whether there. I'm kind of hoping there's no other Hall of Fame news,
We'll
selfishly.
find out. Well, I don't think there should be because hockey start is in January, basketball's in February. They're going to do the next hall on the 28th for the pro football. So I think we're in a safe space. And now they've moved rock and roll to next year too.
Yeah.
So and
So
baseball's I guess with the senior category for baseball might come up, but
I should know that date. I think it's the 9th.
it
Yeah, we
could be.
might have to talk about that. But either way, that's going to be sort of like on the docket next week. And thank you for your support. Keep comments coming. Comment on everything. Tell me I'm an idiot. My first wife did that all the time. That's fine. Okay, maybe don't call me that. I'm kind of that might
But
hurt my
what
feelings.
you can do is we got a few days left. Vote.
Yep.
Make
Yes.
make make changes if you want to. It's all up to you. Our votes don't count any more than yours do. So
If it did, it wouldn't be the 25 that we're probably putting forth.
yeah. So not that any of them are not deserving. It's just not the 25 I expected. There's like of the 20 we've seen, because we only saw those base numbers from about a week ago. Uh, I would say 8 of them I expected. And the other 12, I'm little surprised to very surprised. So
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very,
yep,
very interesting. We'll finally get at least some people from sports that we haven't seen yet, barring
true.
some major overhaul.
And we have a huge bias for football for the old school ones, which is interesting.
I didn't see that coming.
No, I didn't see that either. So
Yeah. So, but that's okay because it's
mhm,
not just our hall; it's your hall.
correct.
All
So
right. All right. So, with that said, wherever you are, wherever you may be, make today count because it never comes again. Take care, everyone.
bye, guys.